Hello and welcome to Time to Change. Today I have Tiffany Castagno with us, the CEO and founder of CEPHR LLC. She is in the house representing folks. That's right. I'm wearing it. I'm wearing it. Here she is. Let's give her a big round of applause. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. I love Tiffany. I love her husband, Mike. We are thrilled to have been able to meet them in person in New York City when they came and be able to spend some quality time with her and other partners. And it is awesome to hear her speak. She is such a blessing, not only for our community, our partners, the people she works with, but she is also a blessing to her community, and she is a Jefferson Award winner and an incredible human being doing amazing things. So I am thrilled today to talk with her about being an ally. And I guess the first question is, you know what? I have really had to learn, unlearn, and relearn since 2020. What do you think are the biggest things, or even I guess to start out the conversation, what would you say is a real lesson that allies should learn today, that maybe they didn't know yesterday?
I always appreciate our time together and thanks for having me. You always give me such thought-provoking questions, and I know that's great for the audience. I think we're all in a period of learning and unlearning and sitting with ourselves to see how much we're willing to learn and unlearn. And I would say I think that is part of the process. I think that is one of the most important things, alongside just being open and making sure that you're listening, you're ready to receive the message, because every single one of us, no matter how you're situated, what intersectionalities you sit at, has opportunity to learn. And I think sometimes for me, I'm like, ooh, why did I react that way? Why did that cause this reaction? And so I would say, to question those things, be aware enough to embrace it and to give grace to yourself when it's happening, but also not to tell someone else's story, right? To listen to the stories other folks are saying and believe them.
I think that is so good. When you talk about stories, I keep seeing posts about this, and then other partners of ours talking about just that piece, which seems to be a real hot button right now, is about allowing people to have their own story and to tell their own story without your interjection. I know who you are. I've sat in your shoes. No, you haven't. You haven't, and you may think, you may have that perception that you know someone because they have similar experiences, but they are still different, and they should be allowed to tell their story. So I think that is a great piece to what you added there. I would love to know your thoughts on, you know what, and I should have probably started with this, but this is how my brain works. What is an ally? What is an ally, and why is it important?
Yes. So allies are important because we need folks who are allies in a room where people like myself, who may be marginalized or who may not have accessibility because of how they look or speak or the color of their skin or their gender, their identity, um, their abilities, all of those types of things. And so there's been a lot of talk too recently around what is and isn't an ally. And it isn't someone who gives themselves a label, so to speak. I think for a lot of reasons, labels are problematic. But at the same time, it's someone who really is looking to make a change and who isn't centering themselves around the issue, saying, oh, I know what that's like, right? It's the situation that you were explaining. It's someone who is willing to, we're not asking you to step in our shoes. We're asking you to watch the footsteps, right? And to be there to help guide along and to maybe sometimes in front of us if we can't get to that space. So I think it's definitely understanding, where those boundaries are. There's a huge piece that is boundaries related that I think some people don't always understand because they want so much to.
I love that. So what do you say to someone who you can tell has the right intentions, but is really going about it the wrong way?
Yeah. And I think, a huge piece of that is really the listening. And so I try to be empathetic because and I'll say to people sometimes, I understand where your intent was, but I think here's how I felt that or how I received the message. Here is, where the impact maybe didn't match the intent. I know you meant well. I'm solely seeking to understand. I want us to understand from the same
Yeah.
or from, not the same perspective, but I want us to come to an understanding. And I think when a lot of times I'll ask questions too, because if you ask questions, it takes the defenses down. If you humanize the experience for the person and don't like jump all over them right away, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you said that. Now, I'm not taking away from someone's experience that may be your initial reaction, but really trying to understand where is it that person came from. And sometimes maybe it wasn't their intent for it to land, or they don't believe they're saying something in a certain way, but it landed that way with you. And they may feel very headstrong about what they're saying and just not understand the place of privilege maybe they're coming from, or the lack of exposure and experience that they have. And that doesn't make it wrong. It means we need to come to a common understanding.
In my network that commented on somebody else's post, and it's somebody that has a lot of followers that works in DEI, and they use the term detrimental ally. And
Hmm.
I'm just curious if that's something you've ever heard or anything that you know anything about, because I'm curious where that context is coming from.
Yeah, and I think, and again, we can only speak or should only speak from our own experiences, but I speak from the experience of a cisgender Black woman. And I think that, what probably is meant by that is that kind of the intent versus impact
Okay.
issue or scenario where we find I mean to do well. I want to support you. I may speak on your behalf. We may have heard the term white savior, or my friend Sarah June so aptly put it. What did she call it? White benevolence, I think, because it sounds, a little
Yeah.
bit, yes, because the intent is good. But I think sometimes we can do harm. Folks can do harm when they're trying to be an ally, or if they're showing up in different ways where they mean well, but maybe they're speaking on behalf of someone, or they're coming into a situation without enough information or context. I think, there's a lot of harm that can be done if we don't necessarily believe people, or, I'm amazed by the number of times that people will be like, oh, I can't believe that happened, or the cognitive dissonance that happens when people are like, oh, well, the stares, the microaggressions, all of those types of things. And so you can think that you're an ally, but you're still on a journey. And that doesn't mean that you know all the answers just because you want to be painted in one light and perceived in one light. You may not be already there. And that for people is sometimes a problem. And there can be real harm in the work, especially if these people are working in DEIB spaces, because we can be misinforming people and bringing up other traumas for people, really.
Where are we from a standpoint of diversity, equity, inclusion being important in business today?
Whew. I had to take a breath and a beat. Um, I am a person, as you know, who likes to believe the best in people and who wants to, I'm just hopelessly optimistic at times, but I am also a realist. And I do think we're making strides. I think that a lot of what we face and see in the external environment is really detrimental to a lot of the good work being done grassroots and in these businesses. I'm blessed that my clients are doing great work. There's a lot of work that has been done in the social justice arena, and that is frankly coming very far. And sometimes it's hard to see that when it's happening in small pockets, which is why it's important to elevate, which is why it's important not to place yourself in the role of an ally or to speak for other folks necessarily. It's important to place yourself as an ally, but how you situate and how you say it is important. I think, I'm seeing a lot of performative stuff. I think that in the beginning of 2020, when all the things were happening after Floyd's murder, we saw a lot of people rushing. We saw a flood of positions open in this space. And now people are pulling back their budgets. They're asking their teams to translate things for other employees or for their clients, their customers, and yet they're not being paid for it. People are being asked to do extra affinity work or ERG work, and they're not being paid for it. There's a lot of tokenism that still goes on. So I think, getting to the root of things and where things are really stemming from and really building your culture the right way is important, and understanding, because the heart of diversity comes from really appreciating who people are, not just tolerating them, but accepting them fully for who they are and understanding that and blending that throughout your culture. And I think that is a gap, and we still have a long way to go. But I'm pleased with the progress we have made. I wish it was faster and more, but I'll take it. I will take.
Yeah. Like to end with one last question. If you, since this was about being an ally, if you were going to give one tip, just you only were able to give one tip to someone like myself, somebody that looks like this guy, maybe not as pretty with all the scars, but someone that is like me, what would you say to tell them this is the thing that you can start to be a better ally?
It would have to be listening. It'd have to be listening because, for me, it's about creating space and nurturing space. And we can't get to a place of where we're supposed to be, where it's not box checking, without listening. We can't get to a place of understanding with each other without listening. Someone like you, who is amazing, and you know how much I adore you and Jody, and I'm so glad we all got to meet and the partners, but we're differently situated. You can't live my life and my life experiences and know exactly what it feels like, nor can I do the same for you. And we have to start from a place of listening, but listening to understand, not to, let me jump in, or even with the best intent, let me rescue Tiffany because she needs my help, or poor Tiffany because she's a Black woman or she's a woman. And, that happens from those good places too. So opening up to listen and being prepared to receive are so important.
I've had the privilege today to introduce you, if you didn't already know, Tiffany Castagno. Ladies and gentlemen, one more time, a round of applause